Giving all praise to Yahweh Shemi Shai. And basically over here, what's trending on Google, showing you the Lord say He's gonna pour out His Spirit upon all flesh. This is what's trending on Google, right? In the front it says 335 million dead if America launched a massive nuclear war on Russia and China. Overall, an all-out U.S. attack on the Soviet Union and China. This is trending on Google. 335 million dead if America launched a massive nuclear war on Russia and China. There's vibrations in the air, man. You know? Nuclear war is coming. The Lord said He's going to pour out His Spirit upon all flesh. This war is prophesied to happen, man. This nuclear war is prophesied to happen, and we at the door of it, man. This is trending on Google. You know, overall, an all-out U.S. attack on the Soviet Union, China, and satellite countries in 1962 would have killed 335 million people within the first 72 hours. Overall, an all-out U.S. attack on the Soviet Union, China, and satellite countries in 1962 would have killed 335 million people within the first 72 hours. It is no exaggeration to say for those who grew up during the Cold War, all-out nuclear war was the ultimate nightmare. This prospect of an ordinary day interrupted by air raid sirens, claxons, and searing heat of a thermonuclear explosion was a very real, albeit remote, possibility. Television shows such as The Day After Threads realistically portrayed both a nuclear attack and the gradual disintegration of society in the aftermath. In an all-out nuclear attack, most of the industrialized world would have been bombed back to the Stone Age, with hundreds of millions killed outright and perhaps as many as a billion or more dying of radiation, disease, and famine in the post-war period. This is the Lord, man. The Most High say He's going to pour out His Spirit upon all flesh. This is trending in Google. So this World War III is in the air. During much of the Cold War, the United States nuclear warfighting plan was known as the SEOP, or the Single Integrated Operating Plan. The first SEOP, introduced in 1962, was known as SEOP 62, and its effects on the Soviet Union, Warsaw Pact, and China were documented in a briefing paper created for the Joint Chiefs of Staff and brought to light in 2011 by the National Security Archive. The paper presupposed a new Berlin crisis similar to the one that took place in 1961, but escalating to full-scale war in Western Europe. Although the war scenario was fictional, the post-attack estimates were very real, according to the paper. The outlook for communist bloc countries subjected to the full weight of American atomic firepower was grim. The paper divided attack scenarios into two categories. One in which the U.S. Nuclear Alert Force, a percentage of overall nuclear forces kept on constant alert, struck the Soviet Union and its allies, and a second scenario where the full weight of the nuclear force, known as the full force, was used. On the SEOP, about 1,000 installations that were related to nuclear delivery capability would be struck. The scenario, which assumed advance warning of a Soviet attack and an American preemptive attack strike. So it's always about the U.S. and Russia, Magog and Gog, and Babylon. And this is all biblical prophecy, man. The Most High is setting all this up. And this is trending on Google. So this vibration is this frequency is in the air. Would see the alert force attacking 75% of these targets. The attack would be largely counter-force strike in which U.S. nuclear forces attack Soviet Warsaw Pact and Chinese command and control and nuclear forces. The report states that 83 to 88% of all targets will be destroyed within 70% assurance. In an alert force attack, 199 Soviet cities with populations of 50,000 or greater would be struck. This would turn 56% of the urban population and 37% of the total population into casualties. Most of them would eventually die due to post-attack breakdown of society. In China, 49 cities will be struck, turning 41% of the urban population into casualties and 10% of the overall population. In Eastern Europe, only purely military targets will be struck, with a projection of 1,378,000 killed by American nuclear attacks. An all-out full-force attack would be much worse. A full-force attack would devastate 295 cities, leaving only 5 cities with populations of 50,000 or more unscathed. Well, over here in America, according to biblical prophecy, this place is going to be a desert from California to New York. Ain't going to be nothing left when the Lord's done with this place. It's going to take him an hour, 1 hour, 60 minutes, 3,600 seconds, 666 three times to destroy the satanic ass empire. 72% of the urban population and 54% of the overall population will become casualties. As the National Security Archive points out, the amounts to 108 million likely killed out of a total population of 217 million. In China, 78 cities will be struck, affecting 53% of the urban population and 16% of the overall population. Casualties in Eastern Europe will more than double to 4,004,000. Overall, an all-out U.S. attack on the Soviet Union, China, and satellite countries in 1962 would have killed 335 million people within the first 72 hours. The CIOP 62 report does not attempt to estimate U.S. casualties in a nuclear war. However, a 1978 report prepared for the Pentagon's Office of Technology Assessment, OTA, the effects of nuclear war, spelled out in a grim detail that would happen if the Soviet Union unleashed its arsenal on the United States. The OTA report states that in the event of a Soviet attack against U.S. nuclear forces, other military targets, economic targets, and population targets, an attack could be estimated to kill between 60 and 88 million Americans. With enough warning, major cities and industrial areas would be evacuated, but that would only lower the number of dead to between 51 and 47 million. Attacks on U.S. allies, including NATO nations, Japan, and South Korea, would undoubtedly occur, but are not modeled in the study. Another report, casualties due to the blast, heat, and radioactive fallout from various hypothetical nuclear attacks on the United States, postulated a Soviet attack against 1,215 U.S. strategic nuclear targets. The attack involves almost 3,000 warheads with a total yield of about 1,340 megatons. Because the attacks are carried out against hardened facilities, particularly MX and Minuteman II intercontinental ballistic missiles silos, the attacks are envisioned using SS-18, Satan. Hey, the scriptures say, if Satan be invited against Satan, how can his king stand? So this missile Satan is going to divide this kingdom, literally. Blow it to kingdom come. And this is all the word of the Lord, man. Satan ICBMs, each carrying 10 550 to 750 kiloton warheads. Attacks against U.S. bombers and refueling forces are carried out by ICBMs and submarine-launched ballistic missiles fired from off the coastline. The result of even this modest attack, which largely spares U.S. cities to attack nuclear forces in the Midwest, is 13 to 30, 4 million deaths, and 25 to 64 million total casualties. Still bombarded by 1,215 nukes, the United States will lose far fewer people than Strategic Air Command estimated the Soviet Union will lose in 1962. Well, guess what? 10 parts of Russia is going to be destroyed, but America is going to be completely annihilated. From California to New York, all of Babylon is going to be a desert. There's going to be desert creatures here, man. Like it says in Isaiah 13. All right, now this is trending. This article is trending on Google. The Lord said he's going to pour out his spirit upon all flesh. If you can't see the signs that we're in the World War III, there's something wrong with you. You're going to be part of the desert. That's really what's going to happen if you don't repent. and stop being so goddamn stupid. When it's evident, we in the midst of war right now as we speak. The, dispres- this, the discrepancy is probably because of the larger yields of U.S. nuclear weapons in 1960s versus Soviet nukes in the 1980s, but also because at the time of the SAC report, Soviet nuclear forces were primarily bomber based. First of all, these missiles, the Most High going to intensify the power of the missiles. See, Esau's trying to break it down. Look, man, the Lord going to put the spirit into these missiles, man, to hit their targets. They ain't going to lose their ranks. Esau trying to break it down, trying to estimate how much destruction is going to be. America's going to be completely destroyed, according to biblical prophecy, man. The Soviet Union had between 300 to 320 nuclear weapons in 1962, all but 40 of which were bomb-based. All right, bomber bases may have been closer to major population areas. A major draw of U.S. nuclear weapons to Soviet cities would have also been the presence of local airports, which would have functioned as dispersal airfields for nuclear-armed bombers. On the other hand, the Soviet attack would largely hit ICBM fields and bomber base in low population density regions of the Midwest, plus a handful of submarine bases on both coasts. As devastating as these projections are, all readily admit they don't tell the entire story. While these three studies modeled the immediate effects of a nuclear attack, long-term problems might kill more people than the attack itself. That's what they call the nuclear winter, the radiation and all that. And that's gonna be your first job, you elites, is to bury these dead bodies all over the world. So you're gonna have a lot of work to do. The destruction of cities will deny the millions of injured, even those who might otherwise easily survive, even basic health care. What remains of government in any country would be hard pressed to maintain order in the face of dwindling food and energy supplies, a contaminated landscape, the spread of diseases and masses of refugees over a 12-month period, depending on the severity of the attack. Total deaths attributable to the attacks could double. While the threat of nuclear war between the United States and Soviet Union has ended, the United States now faces the prospect of a similar war with Russia or China. The effects of the nuclear war in the 21st century will be no less severe. And that's the spirit, man. The steps to avoiding nuclear war, however, are the same as they were during the Cold War. It ain't going to be avoided because it's the Most High's program. Arms control confidence, building measures undertake by both sides, and a de-escalation of tension. Or there's going to be more tension. Ain't going to be no de-escalation. There's going to be more tension. You know? That's the spirit that's in the air right now. War. War. That's the spirit that's in the air. War. That's the spirit that's in the air. Nuclear war. It's the Most High's program, man. The Most High's doing this. We at that time. The time is now. Malachi 4:1. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that I shall leave them neither root nor branch. And what's going to burn them up? That nuclear fire, man. It's going to burn like an oven. America's going to burn like an oven.